Americans
Yes, and that's actually how I
commonly
was
say
saying
it,
it
yes.
earlier, and you said Hypatia.
Hypatia. She was an astronomer, a mathematician, a philosopher, an inventor, an author. She lived in Alexandria, Egypt in about 400 CE, the Common Era. She lived in, and Alexandria was where the great library was. She lived and taught there. She was a Neoplatonist, so she taught philosophy. She wrote 4 books, none of which survived because, of course, they burned the library down and several times.
Yeah, we've read that in history. I do recall
Right,
that.
you did read
yes.
that, and they destroyed the library, so we lost all of this wonderful and great literature and scientific writings of the past. But Hypatia was female. She was unusual in the time because in Alexandria, in the year 400, it was a time when Christianity was trying to strengthen its base in northern Africa, and the bishop of the town, Alexandria, did not approve of a pagan, Hypatia. She was a pagan, teaching. He thought this was not good. And she was strong-minded, strong-willed, and she said something that is just wonderful, that she said, "Reserve your right to think, for even to think wrongly is better than not to think at all." And words like that irritated the good bishop. So he apparently incited a mob of people, and when she was driving through the city in her chariot, they dragged her from the chariot and peeled her to death with oyster shells. And that's how she died.
Wow.
She was a martyr.
Absolutely.
To science.
Oh gosh, that's the only thing I did recall, that the famous method of her death, but
yes.
Oyster shells.
Oyster shells, yes.
Frightening, just frightening.
Because she was against the rising tide of the powerful in Alexandria, and they didn't like a strong-willed woman teaching philosophy.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
And she would be so wonderful for us today as a model, or well,
she's
we
a
can still talk
model.
about. She still is a model, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, she sounds like a modern woman.
She was. She wrote wonderful things, and the things she wrote ring today just as they, the same just as they did then.
Wow,
yes.
Gosh. Let's go quickly because we're going to run out of time, I'm afraid. I want to cover the last 2. The third woman is Hildegard, and she's the genius of the 11th century, and I think that's one that many people have heard that name.
Yes, Hildegard of Bingen. She was the abbess of Bingen. She lived in the convent all her life. She went there as a young girl. She became head of the convent, the abbess of the convent. She was an author, a scientist, a composer, a writer. She authored thousands and thousands of words. Her books were instant bestsellers. She is honored by nurses as the founder of holistic medicine, for example. She wrote about science, the science of the day. We wouldn't think of it as science today, but of her day, she was very current and wrote about science. She painted, she illustrated her books. Just a wonderful, wonderful genius. One of the rare true geniuses. And I believe about the year 2000 or 2001, the National Cathedral performed her music. And they still perform her music today. You can buy the DVDs of her Gregorian chants, and it's eerily beautiful.
I'm going
really
to do that.
Really beautiful music.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Fabulous. I'm going to do that. And let's go on to a modern one, Grace Hopper. And I know she gave us the name Computer Bug, correct?
Yes.
Okay, tell us about her.
Grace Hopper, many people may have heard of. She was a very special lady. She was the oldest person on active duty in the U.S. Navy when she retired at the age of 80. She kept trying to retire, and they kept bringing her back. She worked on the first electronic computer, the Mark I, and came in one day, and the computer had died overnight. They used triode and diode tubes, glass tubes, and the tube had shorted out overnight and crashed the computer, and a moth had shorted out between the two tubes, and they pasted the moth in the logbook, and she put first known case of computer bug. So she's the one who coined the term computer bug. Yes, yes.
Gosh.
She essentially drove the computer industry in the United States during her lifetime. The only person interviewed on 60 Minutes where they were scared of her.
Really?
The 60 Minutes crew was just in awe of this Commodore in the U.S. Navy who stood there and told them what was what. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. And this is unusual for the 60 Minutes crew.
Thank you for introducing us to these wonderful women and the stories, and for your enthusiasm, and I hope it encourages and entices many women to go into science and astronomy.
Yeah, I hope
really
so.
appreciate your coming
Thank
on
you.
our show today. Thank you. I hope you've enjoyed meeting our guest, Dr. Seth Ann Howard, as much as I have, and you're inspired by her passions. If you know a woman who's gone above and beyond to contribute to our community, please email us. We're womansworldtv@aol.com. Remember, it's a woman's world. I'm Carolyn Bruna. See you next time.
Traditional light bulbs actually generate 9 times more heat than light. Switch to energy-saving bulbs. Saving energy saves you money.
Packers,
Vikings,
Red State, Blue State.
We come from different places.
Uptown.
But when we live united, we create real lasting change in the education, income, and health of our country. Real change won't happen without you. So give, advocate, volunteer, Live United. Sign up at liveunited.org.
Hair loss. Now this rash on my face, what's going on?
For answers, ask your doctor the right question.
Could I have lupus?